Suicide Squad. We saw it. It was pretty good. The film has been very divisive. Some people are loving it. Most people are hating on it really hard. Of course, it had the very low Rotten Tomatoes score, and everyone's freaking out about that. There's a whole story unto itself.
What is the score?
Well, at one point it was like 27% rotten or something, which led to people petitioning to get Rotten Tomatoes shut down, which is just, it's ridiculous. And I'm getting so disenfranchised with the reviews, you know, and rating the film. And
it's all about what you think yourself. Why do people get so caught up in what
I know.
other people think?
I know. Anyway.
And that's the thing about what other people think, because it's cool to, you know, get together and like think stuff is uncool, and it's just
I have to say something, and I'm sorry, but one thing I've seen like about 10 times today alone is people saying Suicide Squad, the editing was terrible, or horrific editing. And I just have to say this, you know, the basis of good editing, it goes down to as simple as a character looks to another character, and we see a shot of the character they're looking at. You know, you get from A to B. You know, Suicide Squad does that. The editing works. It flows in that way.
There's more to editing, you know?
I know, but I'm just saying, when people say that the editing is terrible and horrible, it shouldn't make any sense whatsoever, but it does. You know, I mean, if there are problems with the editing, or you know, there's something that, yeah, I agree with that. But to say that it's just completely horrible, it's terrible, it doesn't work and all that.
That's because they focus on the parts that were really horrible. Like in the beginning.
Yes.
The characters get introduced and they have some writing next to it, and it just goes so fast.
Yeah.
It's gone. Even the subtitles in Norwegian was like ding, 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 and it was gone. I was like, who is it? I didn't even catch the name because there's so much going on at once, and it was just cutting really fast. And if they gave it like 5 more seconds, maybe it would have been fast enough.
Yeah.
Or slow enough, but even that would have been fast.
The opening like shot of the film, we're panning over this landscape to show some facility. In the bottom right corner, it says in text where the place is. 1, it wasn't on screen long enough for me to read where the location was. 2, it was in black font, so I couldn't even decipher what. I mean, you know, things like that. Yes, were not done well. As you said, the character things and all the tech, like, they went fancy with it, you know, and fun and colourful, and you know. But I could, it's so flashed up so quickly.
Yeah, but you know that the movie is flashy and colourful because the trailer is, and even the logo is like that, and so the whole movie is like that.
But just a bit too quick, and so things like that I understand. But this is the problem: is when something, a part of an element of the film, you know, doesn't work, people will just write off the rest of it completely. You know, just
the way it is today.
You know, I didn't see a problem with the editing in its most basic form, and just, you know, in general, like there's a scene right at the end. Like there's a big dramatic scene, and it all plays out in slow motion. The music's really dramatic, and I thought it was edited really well. You know, so just, I don't know. I find it annoying sometimes when, but again, it is all opinion, I suppose. Right. So the film itself, we don't need to explain it. You know,
It's not always your own opinion, though. Just saying.
What do you mean?
Well, people can come out of the cinema thinking, "Oh, that was awesome," and then they sit down and they read on forums, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it was shit."
True.
Because everyone else says it's shit, so they decide that it's shit anyways.
I just had to defend the editing. That's all.
Well,
It wasn't great. It wasn't like, wow, the editing was awesome, but you know, it serviced the film. Anyway,
it's not like it's not an arty movie.
No, but I really like. There's a great bit where we see Killer Croc's they're feeding Killer Croc, and like this big hunk of meat comes down, and it cuts to Amanda Waller putting her fork into a steak. Yeah. That was a nice little cut, you know. Yeah. That's just one thing that popped into my head. So Suicide Squad, we know they get all the bad guys together, you know, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and all that, and you know they got to kind of fight another bad guy basically. I liked that it was different in that sense. We haven't seen an all bad guy team movie before, so it was. I mean,
I'm confused about one thing though.
Go.
It might be spoilerish.
Right.
But you say the bad guy. Well, they're fighting a bad guy.
Yeah.
But she wanted to gather everyone before the bad guy they ended up fighting was the bad guy.
Yeah.
Because the bad guy was supposed to be on that woman's team.
Yeah.
But why was she gathering them then? Because the only thing
just in
they
case,
ended up
I suppose.
fighting
I suppose it was a precautionary measure to get this crew of people together. They call it in the film. They call it Task Force X. You know, I think it's Will Smith who calls it Suicide Squad, because they're kind of expendable and all that kind of thing. The beginning of the film was kind of jarring to me because it opens up with Amanda Waller, what's her name? I forget the actress' name. Viola Davis, I think. She was great. I loved her as Amanda Waller, the black woman who was kind of putting it all together. She was great. I loved her character and how ruthless she was and stuff, and how she was the puppet master, and the acting from her was great. The film opens with like a 20-minute scene of her having dinner with these two guys and telling them all about the Suicide Squad, basically, and so you see all the backstory, and it just framing it around them sitting having that dinner conversation just went on a bit too long, I think. I mean, I don't know how I would have done it, but it was the jarring opening that took a while to get going, but you did get all the backstory for most of the main characters.
I didn't know the backstory of any of these characters whatsoever. I didn't know who Deadshot was at all. I didn't know he had something against Batman.
But you kind of see who's going to be more important, because it's like, here's Harley Quinn's backstory with the Joker. Now here's Deadshot's, and then there's this guy and that guy, and you kind of the other people had really short backstories, so you kind of knew that this film's going to be about Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and Joker mainly. Those are kind of the three big ones.
And the one who didn't have a backstory, guess who died first?
Oh yeah, there's a very minor.
I was like, who's that? Oh, he's probably gonna die.
Yeah, it was just, but that was really weird because they set it all up, and like an hour into the film, they're like, oh, and there's this guy, and another guy walks out of the car.
It's like, we didn't get to his backstory. Who's that?
So I figured he was expendable too.
Yeah.
But we'll try not to get into any more big spoilers, I suppose.
It's not really a big spoiler because you don't even know who he is.
Someone dies. Anyway,
someone dies in this movie where there's a lot of killing.
We'll do some spoiler talk. So just to kind of just cap off a bit of a spoiler-free kind of part of this.
Maybe we should do the spoiler part in the end. So it's
That's what I mean.
For them
That's what I mean. So we'll just wrap up this part now. I really enjoyed the film. It was a lot of fun. There were things about it I didn't like. We'll probably get into that more later on. The Joker was I didn't really like him in the film. He wasn't bad. He didn't ruin it or anything, and his part of the film was fine. I just didn't like his performance very much. And overall, it was just fun. Again, it's a superhero film. I'm not looking for high art. I'm not looking for another Dark Knight. I think Christopher Nolan's ruined it for a lot of people because some people are like, if it's not the Dark Knight, then it can't be a great film. It was fun. It wasn't great. It wasn't amazing. There was nothing that special about it, but it was still really entertaining. And despite its flaws, I'm glad we went to see it. It's just another one of those comic book films. They're not going to be able to hit it out of the park with every single one because they make so many of them. I have heard that the original tone of the film was really more gritty and violent and disturbing. We'll get to that in the spoiler section. But your thoughts before we move into spoilers.
Well, they had parts of that in there as well.
Yeah, definitely, but apparently there was more.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining, like you said.
Yeah.
I was mainly just preparing for mindless action, really.
Yeah.
And it wasn't all mindless. It was colorful, and what I looked the most forward to was Harley Quinn. She did not disappoint to me.
Yep.
She was a lot more awesome than I expected her to be. She was just awesome. I loved her. She should have been called Harley Quinn, the movie, because, Lily's coughing. The other person, my second favorite person in this movie, was Will Smith.
Yeah, really good. So I enjoyed it.
I didn't expect that either, so I was really happy about that. The other characters, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Don't know who they are. Didn't even notice them in the trailer. Yeah. I noticed the crocodile dude, but
Yeah, I'll say that Killer Croc I found quite enjoyable. He didn't have much to say or do, but
I like the effect they did where when he blinks from the side like. Like
I love how they did it practical, and it was prosthetic. It wasn't digital. And I also really liked Captain Boomerang. Like, holy shit, Jay Courtney it's just so bland of an actor, and I thought he was fun in this. I don't
even know who he is.
He's the Australian one.
Yeah, I know that, but I don't know who he is.
Well, neither do I.
Never heard of him before.
Neither do I.
Or the actor.
But they just set it up. He's Australian. He robs banks and he uses a boomerang. I mean, you don't really need much more than that. And I thought that he was funny. He was in it when he needed to be, and was just an enjoyable character. And coming from someone who's acting, I really don't enjoy that much. I was quite surprised by that. So Killer Croc and him, I quite liked.
I liked Katana.
Yeah, cool side character.
She no real backstory really.
Well, there was a backstory. They had the flashback, and there was
it was like 20 seconds long. It was
yeah,
just to say why she was angry.
Yeah.
And I really liked her. But then again, I like almost all Japanese characters in movies. if there's like action movies like this, and boom comes like a badass Japanese character who can throw a sword around really cool and speaks Japanese, I think that's awesome. And apparently I think she was Japanese as well, because I noticed a Japanese name in the credits.
Yeah.
Joker. I'm gonna disagree. I liked him. Yeah, maybe it was a little too pushed, but isn't he Jared Leto, right?
Yeah.
Isn't he kind of...
Yeah.
You know, in everything he does.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna be the Joker, you can't really play it safe.
Yeah.
So you have to be a little bit crazy. I think it was it wasn't great, but I really enjoyed him. I thought he did a good job. I was kind of like analyzing him the whole time, like how crazy is he right now? Yeah, he looks pretty crazy. Okay. And I didn't like the teeth.
No.
His teeth should be yellow, you know, because that's what they not like that, you know. Anyways, Luke thought he was more like a gangster.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll get into it more, but
Will Smith made that clear that the black woman was gangster. So. But yeah, I actually enjoyed him. I was not looking forward to seeing him. I wasn't excited about him at all going into the movie. All I wanted to see was Harley Quinn and Will Smith, and that's what I got. I'm so glad that didn't disappoint.
Yeah.
And since I had no hopes whatsoever for the Joker, I was pleasantly surprised.
Cool.
And I'm glad he was in the movie as much as he was, or as little as he was.
Right, yeah.
And the main villain was okay, I guess.
Yeah.
I liked the main villain before the main villain was the main villain, in a way.
Yeah.
So
again,
that kind of just dropped down for me. It built up from nothing for me, like.
It's so hard to do a really good comic book villain, because so much has been done. You know, and I didn't think she was as bad as people are saying. I don't think she was terrible.
No.
The villain is just a serviceable means to an end for the Suicide Squad to have something to do in the film, you know. And for me, that was enough almost. It was definitely a little bit, you know, and a bit too much CGI towards the end. But
they should have had more backstory on her.
Well, from what I've read, that there was so much that they cut out, you know, and maybe over-filmed. I don't know, and we'll talk about that more. But
like cutting maybe 10 seconds on the, writing on every person.
Well, one thing I want to say is a lot of people have said in most reviews that I've read, oh, the character development was terrible. Oh, no depth to the characters. You know, again, you haven't, when you got a team.
You don't have the time.
When you have a team movie, you just can't do that. And for me, like I said, Captain Boomerang, he's Australian. You know, he likes Robin Banks. He's got a bit of a, fun sense of humor. You know, you don't need much more than that. The Japanese girl, you don't need much more than the fact that she's a badass with a sword. You know, in action movies like this, you just need the basic setup and off you go. And to me, I don't need all that. There was enough time for Deadshot, there was enough time for Harley Quinn and her backstory, and so for me, those were the two kind of main characters that you kind of follow the most throughout the film, I think.
Who do you think was the main character?
The main character? Well, it has to be Deadshot, I think, because,
definitely.
It was and I liked Rick Flag.
He had more screen time than anyone, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And there was a lot more to his backstory than... even Harley Quinn. And
the character of Rick Flag, the soldier, I really liked him. It wasn't like an amazing character, wasn't an amazing performance, but I thought he was really solid. The guy who played him, and it just serviced it
gave it meaning.
Yeah, again, it was a great way to frame all the other characters around and stuff.
Didn't.
No, yeah. So I think what we'll do is we'll just do a separate video to talk about the spoiler stuff, because this one's gone on long enough. But yeah, overall, really entertaining. Really enjoyed it. Not going to rush out and buy it when it comes out. It's just one of those films that's it's fun to watch.
I want it. I look forward to seeing it again.
Well, you know, I could wait a while. You know, it's to me, Batman v Superman. You know,
I'm probably gonna watch it the second it comes
I
out.
really enjoyed Batman v Superman. It wasn't a great film. It wasn't a terrible film. I feel like this is kind of the same, but I enjoyed this more.
Yeah,
I enjoyed this more because there wasn't as many, like the flaws in Suicide Squad are kind of like, ooh, that little thing, ooh, that little thing. Batman v Superman is like, wow, that thing. And that, you know, so there was more. There was the flaws in Batman v Superman were a bit more substantial, I think. So I enjoyed it just a bit more than Batman v Superman.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. It was more entertaining, but then again, I find like these are different movies.
They are
Batman
different.
versus Superman was supposed to be more dark in a way and just you know, angry movie. Not a lot of fun and games, but this one was lighter, more colorful again.
Yeah.
And more humor in it, even though it had its, you know, twisted parts like
certain backstories.
Diablo?
And stuff. Yeah, the guy with the fire.
Yeah, he. I liked his story.
Yeah, me too.
Well, he was like more the darker part of the gang, I guess.
Yeah.
All of them are bad villains, you know, but he. Yeah, it was just interesting to know why he was the way he was.
Yeah.
And what was I gonna say? It just seems like even after Batman vs Superman, where it was a little dark and not so much humor, going into what's it called, the next one?
Justice League.
Justice League. Seeing the trailer for that, they're obviously going a different road.
Yeah.
It's not going to be dark and twisty anymore.
No, Justice League, the trailer for Justice League felt like a reactionary move from the reaction to Batman v Superman. Okay, let's make it a bit more lighter. Anyway, we'll wrap this up, and if you want to hear us continue to talk about this, we'll do another video just talking about some of the spoilery stuff. We'll just section it off.
What would you rate it?
What would I rate it? See, I want to move away from rating things because I think it just bogs down the... Honestly, I'm getting so disenchanted with it, and the way that people are like, what did you rate it? And then they take your rating as like the thing, you know.
Don't get all Rotten Tomatoes on it.
It's a thumbs up from me. It's not 2 thumbs up. It's just a really entertaining film, action film, you know, and it's a style of film that I like, which is, you know, just, you know, big, you know, comic book stuff, you know. It's just, really enjoyed it.
Entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I loved it a little bit. Yeah,
That's
I
right.
didn't just like it.
No, it's cool.
It's great.
All right then. Stay tuned.
I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah, stay tuned if you've seen it and you want to hear the spoiler talk. There'll be a separate video. Thanks for watching.
So you might say he's a really nice guy, really, but if fucking don't cut shit with me. He says he's really cool, but I think he's a tool.